So folks always ask us, how can I measure the effectiveness of your products?
The best way to measure the effectiveness of orgone or orgonite type of components and products is simply by doing experiments that have been replicated all over the world by people who make orgonite. And those experiments include things like the ice test, where you take an orgonite piece, you put it in the fridge or freezer, and you have a control measurement where there's no orgonite in the freezer, and you get the ice structure from that, and then you put in let's say, distilled water sample afterwards with the orgonite piece and see the change in the crystalline structure of the ice. You use food coloring dye as a way of getting the relief of that structure more visible. That's an example of an experiment. Other experiments are more simple, like putting in fruits and vegetables on like an orgonite charge plate and seeing how much longer that those things last on the plate versus off the plate. That's a very famous experiment, like the 30-day cherry tomato test, lemon test, things like that. You also have tests where you can grow seedlings off the plate or on the plate, and you can compare the results. All of these have been replicated all over the world, and by doing those experiments yourself, you can determine the strength of your orgonite piece.
And can you explain why just simply using an EMF meter is not the correct way to measure the effectiveness of our products?
We sometimes get emails by people saying, I want to measure the strength of your orgonite. I have an EMF meter and I want to prove how strong it is. What do I do? And the thing you need to ask yourself is, what is it you're measuring? The thing about our current meters as we have it as a consumer thing that you want to buy to measure something, we're dealing with orgone fields. These are complex fields that are scalar in nature. They take up a volume of space. And their effects go off into both a short range and to a long range. And we don't have any practical consumer devices that can accurately measure that. In order to measure things like that, you have to measure things that are indicative in the environment, like changes in ions in a volume of space, that kind of thing, changes in maybe electrostatic fields, but over a large range. And the only kind of equipment that can do that is very sensitive equipment that only things like the government and the military would have, because they're very expensive and very sensitive equipment you would need to measure that. But so aside from that, we suggest you replicate the experiments that others have done, that Dr. Wilhelm Reich has done with his original accumulator boxes, and see the results for yourself that way.
So is it safe to say that only using an EMF meter is not the correct way to measure the effectiveness of orgone energy?
Yes, it's not really the correct way. The thing about EMF meters is they would measure things dealing with EMF emission, electromagnetic emission, radio frequency emissions. And your orgonite piece being made from a lot of other composites, so it'd be great if the person who made that piece actually told you what's in there, or what they call the orgonite piece. What it would do is measure the properties of those composites. For example, we have shungite and iron oxide in all of our products. So if you happen to take, and we've had people who've done this, we've done it ourselves. If you take a tri-field meter and you put our piece between the source, which is like a wireless router, and the meter itself, like a tri-field meter, for example, you would see a blockage effect because of the components, the materials that we put in our specific blend. But it's not the same for everyone who claim to make orgonite. It's not the same for all the makers.
Hi, I'm Hope.
And this is Tavon.
And we're from Fix the World Morocco, where we make handmade products for EMF protection.
Each piece is made by hand, custom to your order.
When you order with us, you are commissioning us to make a piece of artwork just for you. Please see our FAQs and terms and conditions for information about our production schedule. Thanks for watching.